All right, let's just get right into it. If you're running any kind of paid traffic, especially on a platform like Meta, you've probably got this nagging feeling that something is, well, just a little off with the numbers you're seeing. I mean, does this question sound familiar? You're staring at your dashboard, the results are all over the place, and that clear line you used to feel between your ad spend and your actual sales, it's gotten kind of murky, right? Well, here's the main thing I want you to take away from this whole breakdown. You are not imagining it. It is not in your head. The entire system we've all been relying on to measure ad performance is frankly cracking under a whole lot of pressure. What you're feeling is real, and it's happening across the entire industry. So let's actually call it what it is. I call it the measurement mirage, because there's this massive and honestly growing gap between what the platforms are showing you in those neat little dashboards and the actual boots on the ground reality of your business. And just so we're all on the same page, when I say measurement ecosystem, I'm talking about the whole shebang. It's everything from your Meta Ads Manager to Google Analytics to whatever third-party attribution tool you might be using. It's this entire web of tech that's supposed to connect the dots for us. And listen, this isn't just my opinion. The Interactive Advertising Bureau, the IAB, which is one of the biggest trade groups in the digital ad world, they recently came right out and said, this ecosystem is, and this is a direct quote, fundamentally broken. I mean, that is a massive admission coming from an organization at the very heart of the industry. So why? Why is it broken? Why is your data getting so much harder to make sense of? Well, it's not just one thing. It's more like a perfect storm of major pressures all hitting the system at the exact same time. Okay, this slide is absolutely crucial because it lays out that perfect storm. First, you got outside pressure, right? Things like privacy regulations, Apple's iOS changes, all of that is causing major signal loss. Then you've got this internal pressure. The ad platforms themselves, like Meta and TikTok, are basically becoming black boxes. Their automated systems are making tons of decisions we can't see or really understand. And finally, you have the old, shaky foundation this was all built on. We're still trying to piece together a bunch of inconsistent channel-by-channel measurement approaches that don't really talk to each other. You put all that together, and yeah, our data starts to decay. And what's really fascinating is what Angelina Eng from the IAB says here. This isn't some new crisis. We've been slapping band-aids and using little workarounds on these problems for years. And now, those temporary fixes are just not holding up anymore. In fact, they've let the root problems get even worse. So what happens when you have a system under this much strain? You get a predictable outcome, a massive crisis of confidence. The people actually spending the money, the marketers, the business owners, are just losing faith in the numbers they're being handed. You know, the CEO of the IAB, David Cohen, he really puts it plainly. He's saying the time for pretending everything's okay is just over. These foundational issues have to be fixed because they are quietly undermining the trust in the entire industry. This is a top-down admission that the system has a serious problem. And if you want to see the scale of this problem, just look at this chart from the IAB's State of Data report. A staggering 75%, 3 out of 4 advertisers on the front lines, are saying that these so-called advanced measurement tools are falling short. They don't trust them, they don't think they're rigorous, and they're not timely. Just let that sink in. Only a quarter of advertisers feel like these tools are actually delivering on what they promise. So this, right here, is the gap that we're all living in. On one side, you've got the promise from the platforms. They're selling us clarity, precision, and the confidence to make smart decisions. But on the other side, you've got the reality for advertisers. Confusion from messy data, inconsistency from channel to channel, and just a whole lot of doubt. Okay, so this system is strained, confidence is in the gutter. What in the world are we supposed to do about it? Let's shift gears and talk about strategy, because this is about navigating this new era of imperfect data, not just complaining about it. So let me be crystal clear about this. The single biggest mistake you can make right now is treating the numbers you see in your ads manager as absolute, unquestionable business truth. They're not. They are modeled, they are directional, but they are not gospel. So how are the smartest advertisers adapting? Well, it really comes down to 4 key mental shifts. First, they just accept it. Perfect one-to-one attribution is a fantasy, so they stop chasing it. Second, and this is huge, they validate everything beyond the dashboard. Their own business data becomes the ultimate source of truth. Third, they zoom out. They start looking at broader blended metrics like marketing efficiency ratio, or MER, which is just your total revenue divided by your total ad spend. Super simple. And finally, they adopt a portfolio mindset. They look at how each channel contributes to the entire business, not just its isolated and often wildly inflated platform ROS. And you know what? Here's the best part. Understanding all this mess doesn't have to be a weakness. In fact, if you play your cards right, it can become your biggest strategic edge. Think about it. Right now, there is so much confusion in the market. Your competitors are probably still lost in the weeds, chasing flawed, isolated metrics inside their ad dashboards. By understanding the limits of that data, you get to step back and focus your energy on the things that actually drive real, measurable growth for your business. That is a massive advantage. And that brings us to what I think is the most important takeaway of this entire explainer. In this new reality, the goal is not to find perfect, flawless data. It just doesn't exist anymore, if it ever did. The real goal is to cultivate better judgment, informed by all this imperfect data. If this kind of meta/ad platform breakdown is useful, that's exactly the kind of thing I'm building inside MCR. Comment MCR and I'll send you the link.